Well, with the hype of Godzilla x Kong and Empire raging on, I think it's the best possible time to finally do this video. Hello returning viewers or new viewers, I'm Godzilla Guy. In just about a year now, I really started putting an effort into YouTube, that being my versus battle type videos. The first one being Legendary Godzilla versus Final Wars Godzilla. After that was Showa vs Heisei, Ultima vs Shin, and then it kind of blossomed into this channel. Now, I've been tiptoeing my way around this subject for so long since it's the most heated debate, but I do believe today is the day that we finally just rip the band-aid off and get it over with. Again, welcome to the channel everybody, and in today's video we will finally be discussing and covering Heisei Godzilla versus Legendary Godzilla. Who will win? Before we hop in, I do want to thank all of the amazing people who helped out with this video. They'll all be on screen for you to see and linked down below. Now in one corner we have Heisei Godzilla, being the king of the monsters from 1984 to 1995, and he is no pushover, being commonly considered to be the most powerful Godzilla ever, having a total of 7 films, and fighting a total of 13 kaiju throughout his years. He definitely knows how to fight, standing at a staggering 100 meters tall and weighing 60,000 metric tons. He is one beefy kaiju. In the other corner, we have the blockbusting Godzilla franchise reviving Monsterverse Godzilla, being the current king of the monsters, starting his rule all the way back in 2014. Monsterverse Godzilla, or more commonly known as Legendary Godzilla, has a total of 4 films, 5 tie-in comics, 1 television series, and a kid's book. We're just gonna ignore that. Monsterverse Godzilla has fought a total of 15 kaiju so far. He is a unique fighter, showing he can crawl, dig, slap, and perfectly calculate the timing of his strikes. Monsterverse Godzilla stands at a towering 119.8 meters tall, and in true American fashion, weighs a lot, coming in at 99,634 short tons. So of course, like always, we'll have some rules in place. Neither Godzilla can go into a state that is unachievable independently. For example, Heisei can't go into a supercharged form or burning, and Monsterverse Godzilla can't go thermonuclear, and of course, he can't evolve into his Barbie stage. Now also, neither of them can feed off of each other's radiation to get stronger, as that would just be an ongoing loop of radiation. Also want to mention, this is not a power scaling video, as power scaling is just cherry picking feats and statements, and also ignoring weaknesses. Quick example to show how goofy power scaling can be: burning will release the same amount of energy as the start of the universe line was said right after a scientist says burning Godzilla has the same power of a human heart. And Monsterverse scalers, don't think you're safe either, as we're not going to use that goofy Mechagodzilla beam statement that says his beam releases more energy than the observable universe by 100 billion times, as well, clearly, it doesn't blow up the planet. I do want to mention one thing to any new Godzilla fans who do want to make videos like me, or just general battle breakdown type videos, but you're concerned that fans will bash on you for having an opinion, which we really need to stop doing, guys, come on. Just know this: someone who is doing better than you will never try and tear you down. Only people who are doing worse. So if you're getting hate on your videos, just know it's a pretty much 100% chance that whoever is hating is just jealous to see you succeed. From Godzilla fan to Godzilla fan, you make your videos, man. Also, we won't be using any goofy statements like Heisei upscales Showa. Showa the goat for real and slams Heisei Goji, stay mad. Anyways, with all that yapping out of the way, let's finally get into the video you guys have been asking for a year now. Legendary Godzilla versus Heisei Godzilla. Who would win? So as all fights go, what categories will we be covering? Well, there's quite a bit, so sit back, relax, and get a snack. The categories we'll be covering are lifting strength, striking strength, running speed, swimming speed, battle experience, intelligence, terrain adaptability, fighting skills, overall durability, agility, beam strength, abilities, and finally physical weaponry. So, let's hop in. First up is lifting strength. Starting off with Heisei Godzilla. He has 2 great feats in this category. The first one being him slamming King Ghidorah, who in his normal state weighs 70,000 metric tons. Though even more impressively is his fight against Mechagodzilla, where he lifts and throws Mechagodzilla a good distance. And Mechagodzilla in this film weighs an eye-watering 150,000 metric tons. Next up is Monsterverse Godzilla. He has shown many great feats in this department. Just like Heisei, he throws his respective Ghidorah, who is shown on screen in a blink and you'll miss it type of moment, where Godzilla throws King Ghidorah a few hundred meters back. This Ghidorah weighing in at 141,056 short tons. Another great feat is when he lifted the Muto Prime onto his back, which yes, the Muto Prime is still canon. The Muto Prime weighing 135,000 metric tons. Not to mention he was also able to throw Kong with just his jaw. Well, the current weight for Kong is 90,000 tons, though it does seem a bit iffy, but regardless. Now, while Heisei Godzilla has lifted more overall, that was just a simple pickup, while MonsterVerse Godzilla has lifted Kaiju onto his back and thrown Ghidorah far away. And given Ghidorah just weighs a little bit less than Mechagodzilla, when it comes to lifting strength, it's a tie. Next up is striking strength. Who can hit harder? Firstly, Heisei Godzilla. Heisei Godzilla is very well known for his force behind his attacks. Now, the main one everybody uses is when he slammed Batra into the underwater sea floor. With so much force, it cracked the mantle. Though, I think it's most likely a translation error. Don't kill me, hold on. As the mantle is much further down. Also, you can't really break the mantle, as it is around 20% liquid, especially the upper parts of it. But still a great feat to be able to break the crust with ease. Now onto MonsterVerse Godzilla. Firstly, we all know his insanely memed clip back in 2021, where he slaps Kong so hard he falls backwards. Again, as we said, Kong weighs 90,000 tons. Also though, just like Heisei Godzilla, the MonsterVerse has its own crust-breaking kaiju, that being the Muto Prime. Godzilla takes these punches from the Muto Prime over and over, and for reference, these punches can break the tectonic plates. Does that mean he can break tectonic plates? No, not really. But regardless, he still overpowered Muto Prime later. So who wins striking strength? Well, again, it's a tie. Between MonsterVerse being able to slap Heisei Godzilla to the ground, and Heisei Godzilla being able to slam MonsterVerse Godzilla with insane force, again, it's a tie.
Next up is running speed. Now starting with Heisei, and we all have never seen him run on screen before, he really kind of waddles more than anything. Now moving on to MonsterVerse Godzilla, he has shown many times that he's able to run, and in King of the Monsters, it's actually according to a test scene for the production of the film, it is stated that he runs at 306 miles per hour. So pretty easily the winner for running speed is MonsterVerse Godzilla.
Now onto swimming speed. Thankfully this one's pretty easy to answer, as they both have an outright statement. As you see on screen, Heisei Godzilla has shown to be able to swim at 265 kilometers per hour. Though there is a direct contradiction to his speed, saying he can only swim at 45 knots, which is now only 83 kilometers per hour. So if we just find the average, it comes out to 174 kilometers an hour. Now onto Legendary. As we hear in 2014, according to Monarch, Godzilla swims at 40 knots, but is said to be able to get well over 60. If we assume it's something around 70 knots, we can convert that into kilometers, which will be 129 kilometers an hour. So this one is very close, but the slight edge will go to Heisei Godzilla.
Next up is their respective battle experience. Well, as we mentioned at the start of the video, Heisei Godzilla has fought 13 different kaiju, while Legendary has fought 15. But now, onto their respective fights. Heisei Godzilla has fought enemies that can fly, burrow, split into smaller forms of himself, use telekinesis, and fight beings that can shoot his own beam back at him, giving him an above average amount of battle experience. Now onto MonsterVerse. He has also fought kaiju that can fly, burrow, use telekinesis, split into smaller forms of himself, but he has also fought kaiju that can freeze the entire globe, and kaiju that control a hive mind of smaller monsters. So when it comes to battle experience, it's a tie.
Intelligence. Next up is their intelligence, who is smarter and more resourceful. Starting with Heisei, he has shown that he is able to feel emotions such as rage and sadness. He is also able to work in a team setting. Also, when fighting Space Godzilla, he was able to deduce that Space Godzilla was getting power from the Fukuoka Tower, though everything is more animalistic behavior. Now, on to Legendary. He, just like Heisei, is able to work in a team and shows emotions ranging from distress to cockiness. He is also able to be resourceful with charging up Kong's axe. He's able to use his unique abilities when needed, such as using his thermal vision once blinded. He is able to calculate when his attacks will land upon a target, and is able to realize kaiju that are threats and kaiju that aren't. So, who wins? Well, I think it's pretty clear that when it comes to IQ, Legendary Godzilla takes it.
And I'm here to talk about each Godzilla's respective terrain adaptability. Not gonna lie, I struggled saying that word for a little bit, but in dumb terms, it's basically who's able to fight better if the fight were to change location somehow. So let's start off with Heisei Godzilla and what he's shown. And it's quite impressive, as he's able to fight on land as well as in water. I'd say overall, he's most comfortable on land because that's where most of the fights in the series take place. Though he can fight pretty well underwater, as shown with his fight against Batra. And that's really about it for him, basically. Though you could make an argument that he would be able to fight in lava due to him being able to swim in it and no sell its effects for an extended period of time, but it's nothing really concrete. Now on to Legendary Godzilla. Firstly, like Heisei, he's able to fight both on land as well as in water. Now on land, their fighting skills are pretty interchangeable, but in terms of fighting underwater, I'd say that MonsterVerse has shown more skill. As he's able to fight Thom.artz despite being in tight tunnels, he was shown to be able to leap out of the water to grab Ghidorah in order to tear him up to shreds, and he even displayed this ability again in GVK where he constricted King Kong in an attempt to drown the ape, while also also having to deal with a bunch of battleships and jets. And thanks to Godzilla x Kong, he's shown a third terrain where he's able to fight pretty well. That being the low gravity of the Hollow Earth, being able to make great leaps and jumps. Overall showing us that Godzilla can adapt well to most of his environments. So the winner of this category would have to be Monster vs. Godzilla, as he's just shown more skill in the environments where they both can fight in, such as water. Like, I've never seen Heisei Godzilla try to constrict his opponent and bring them down to try to drown them. And he's simply able to adapt to different settings quickly and more efficiently as well. And just like that, I'll hand the mic back to Godzilla Guy to finish up this video.
Next up is their respective fighting skills. And well, I gotta give this to Monsterverse. Heisei really shows no thought process into his attacks, just flailing his arms around in order to get the other kaiju away from him. While Legendary Godzilla has changed his style many times. For example, when his beam couldn't penetrate the skin of the female Muto, he shot it inside of her head instead. He's able to throw slaps, and knows when to use his jaw when available. Now, I have seen people in debating servers say, oh, well, Heisei, only uses his beam, so he knows it's his strongest attack. Therefore, he's really smart. No, that just means he doesn't really know what else to do, and that's really his only ability he has in fights. So the winner of fighting skills is Monsterverse. Overall durability. Next up is their durability. And at first I was going to say easily Heisei, given if you calculate the heat shot at him from the Super X2, and figure out how much force it would take to replicate that, it would take 10 to the 21st power of tons to generate that much heat. But there are two things that make that fall apart. Firstly, he doesn't fall over, and while Heisei Godzilla can stand his ground, or, well, in this case, water, he can't take that much weight without him being just absolutely slammed against the seafloor. And two, it's more of his ability to take extreme temperatures more than anything. Now really his only great feat is tanking a meteor to the head, which is really good, given it doesn't even penetrate his skin. Though, he also gets stabbed by Biolante's spike, so his durability is kind of all over the place. Now into Monsterverse. He was able to fall from the stratosphere with no damage, tank extinction level events, survive the Hollow Earth's portal inversion, and takes nukes to the face. So when it comes to durability, despite it seeming that Monsterverse has the edge, I'm gonna have to give it to Heisei. I just don't think Monsterverse can no-sell a meteor to the head like it's nothing. Next up is agility. Well, being honest, just skip this one. It's Legendary Godzilla. And I don't want to see anyone in the comments saying, oh, it's the restriction of the suit. Okay. That's my fault, how? I'm just here to tell you who'd win. Agility with low difficulty goes to Monsterverse.
Next is beam strength. And what exactly does that mean? Well, basically whose beam has more pushing power. Heisei Godzilla's beam has been shown to be able to, well, not much really. When he blasts a monster with it, they roar in pain, but his basic beam doesn't really push them around. One possible exception is one time he hit Batro with it and the winged monster kinda got shoved up in the air, but just a little. Keep in mind that we're only discussing his basic beam here, so the red spiral heat ray he used to knock Mechagodzilla over, for instance, doesn't count. Now on to Monsterverse Godzilla. Back in 2014, even when weakened, his beam was able to push the female Muto back, and in GVK he used it to send Kong tumbling into the air. Now the best feat Legendary Godzilla accomplished with his beam was pushing back Ghidorah, which is even more impressive than Heisei Goji knocking Mechagodzilla over. But that was when he was amped by the nuke he took in beforehand, so we can't count that. And so the winner for beam strength is Legendary Godzilla.
Howdy. Hey Kaiju fans.
Hello there.
Hey Kaiju fans, Humble Squid here from Wikizilla to go over the abilities. Which version of the Big G has the better arsenal? Starting with Heisei Godzilla, Atomic Breath. What a surprise for a Godzilla. This Goji's Atomic Breath comes in two flavors. The normal blue 500,000 degrees Celsius Atomic Breath, and the stronger Spiral Heat Ray, which depending on the version of the attack ranges from 900,000 to 1.2 million degrees Celsius. Nuclear Pulse. Rather than firing a beam, this Goji can also fire a short-range wave of atomic energy from his body. This is shown to both work offensively, having supercharged his strikes against Space Godzilla, and defensively, both countering certain abilities and allowing himself to escape from the clutches of other kaiju. Amphibiousness. The Heisei Big G is just as powerful in the water as he is on land. His atomic ray works just as well underwater too. Energy absorption and projection. As Godzilla is a beast that relies on nuclear energy for sustenance, he of course has the means to absorb that energy, with great amounts of it causing him to grow even more powerful. On top of that, he can also project this energy, not only in the form of atomic breath and a nuclear pulse, but also enabling him to give his energy to others, as seen in Godzilla vs. Destroya. Telepathy. While shown to have a psychic link with Junior, Godzilla is also shown to be highly resistant to psychic attacks, as demonstrated when he caused Miki Saigusa to pass out both times she attempted to use her abilities on him. However, these psychic abilities aren't really shown to have any combat proficiency, or at least none in the way he's chosen to use it.
Howdy everybody, Godzilla Guy here popping in. Also want to add that he has really good resistance to extreme temperatures, such as, cold and heat. Anyways, keep it going, Humble Squid.
On to the Monsterverse. That's yet another shared ability. This ability is used more sparingly in comparison to Heisei Goji, though its feats are still impressive, as he utilized one of these pulses to launch the 135,000-ton Muto Prime an indeterminate distance into the air, stunning the Muto long enough for him to land the killing blow. Symbiosis. Legendary Goji is shown to have a symbiotic relationship with Mothra, and is also shown to work well with other monsters, such as Kong. Now, is having friends an ability? Wikizilla says yes, though this is practically a useless ability in a one-on-one fight. Telepathy. Another shared one, though this one works a little bit differently. In both Godzilla Dominion and the novelization of Godzilla vs. Kong, Godzilla is shown to have the ability to issue psychic or at least silent commands to other kaiju. In terms of its usefulness in a fight, not much. Heightened senses. Godzilla is shown to have heightened senses, which were enhanced further thanks to Mothra's sacrifice. Just in GVK alone, he's shown being able to sense the construction of Mechagodzilla and the location of Kong, both when he's being transported by sea and when he is in the Hollow Earth. Sharpened dorsal plates. Through both Godzilla Dominion and GVK, Godzilla's spines are shown to have become quite the dangerous weapon. Sharpened on rocks while swimming, they have the ability to cut right through battleships. Amphibiousness. Much like Heisei Godzilla, Legendary Goji is just as effective in water as on land. Dialogue in King of the Monsters lists his speed at 60 knots, while the Monarch Superspecies profile lists it at 40, and the Japanese GVK theater program listed it at 40 to 50. So we'll say it falls somewhere in that range. He's also shown to be incredibly combat proficient in the water, and just like Heisei Godzilla, his atomic breath still works underwater. Radiation absorption. Also, just like Heisei Goji, he feeds on radioactive energy, currently drawing the majority of his energy from his lair in the Hollow Earth, as well as having the ability to absorb radioactivity from nuclear blasts. Thermal vision. In Godzilla Dominion, upon being blinded by Tiamat, he switches to some form of thermal vision, the comic stating he cannot see his enemy, but he has other ways to see. Tsunamis. Just by virtue of the amount of water his size displaces, the King of the Monsters can cause tsunamis simply by making landfall. But I'd say just from the sheer amount of abilities alone, as well as the feat of launching Muto Prime into the air, I'm gonna give the edge to Legendary Goji.
Now onto their physicality, who is naturally more dangerous. First up is Heisei Godzilla. Heisei Godzilla's main attributes are his sharp teeth and claws. Most importantly, his beefy tail. These can be useful for stabbing into Monster vs. Godzilla's skin, and possibly knocking him over with a well-timed tail swipe. Now onto Monster vs. Godzilla. His main attributes is his strong yet whip-like tail. As we see, he can just blatantly kill Mutos. He also has very sharp claws and a very strong jaw. His most prominent feature is his sharpened dorsal plates. He commonly sharpens his dorsal plates against the rocky ceilings of underwater ocean tunnels. So for physical weaponry, it pretty easily goes to Monster vs. Godzilla. So, finally, ending this debate, and with an insane score of 11 to 5, the true King of the Monsters is Legendary Godzilla. Now, wait, Heisei fans, let me give you a little bit more info. Legendary Godzilla will be winning this with crazy difficulty, as Heisei's durability is just so good. And Legendary doesn't really have any single attack that could damage Heisei Godzilla too much. This fight would go on for hours upon hours. And Legendary would win this fight, yes. He would take some serious damage, to the point where he'll just pull a G14 and collapse onto the ground once he's done. Now, to anybody who's disappointed with the outcome, I'm sorry. That at the end of the day, it's just my opinion, as there is evidence to support both sides of this debate. And debates wouldn't be fun if there was a, grounded answer. So to people who disagree, that's all good. I'm not here to try and tell you you're stupid. It's just that with the evidence that I've seen, I'd have to give the very slight edge to Monster vs. Godzilla. But don't worry, Heisei fans. Before anybody asks in the comments, I'm gonna give the answer right now. Burning Godzilla beats both Evolved and Thermo Godzilla any day of the week, low diff. Anyways, whether you enjoyed the video or not, thank you for watching this far. And thank you to all the YouTubers who were kind enough to take part in this video. As always, everybody, keep collecting. Godzilla Guy out. See ya. And a special teaser for next week's video. After the research team barely made it off of Skull Island, due to the wide variety of monsters and beasts that inhabit the island, they knew the only way that it'd be safe to go back would be to make a monster of their own. Stand at 260 feet tall, 1,980 tons, and tricked out with all the latest weapons and gadgets, we'll ask the question, could Gypsy Danger survive Skull Island?